All right, welcome back to another stream here. An early one tonight, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Coming with a beautiful alignment of the Galilean moons of Jupiter. Like I promised last night, I would be back. So just setting up here, I want to hop in quick on the first song, just say what's up, and then I'm going to play a few tunes while our space fam joins. Got a little cloudage coming through, but I'm going to put up some of these labels here so we can see what's going on. We got Europa, where is that? I got Io down here, and Europa is right here. I'll pause this for a sec. And then what do we got? We got Callisto here on the left, and Ganymede here on the right. Of course, Jupiter. So yeah, it's been a while since I've scoped Jupiter, and this is on the 11-inch telescope. I see Rockstar in the chat. What's happening? Nice to see you. Long time. Andrew Johnson, evening. Scott JS, what's going on? Good to see you. Welcome back, fam. So yeah, it's going to be a quick stream, at least for Jupiter, and if I'm up later, I want to get the moon again. That's going to probably be around 1:30 a.m. Eastern. But right now, we're going to take a look at Jupiter for a bit in this configuration. Let me hide all the labels. I'll put them back in a little bit. And then I'll do a zoomed-in shot as well so we can see some planetary detail. Coming in with some tunes here while everybody shuffles into the hall. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how your skies are doing. Can you see Jupiter yourselves? And also the title of the stream tonight is Where is the Mind? And I'm going to try and stay a little bit more focused on memories in the field and how we retrieve memories, store memories, and what that really looks like. Is that what we call consciousness? I listened to a lot of Bernardo Kastrup today, and Michael Levin, and Donald Hoffman, and let's see who else. Yeah, a few people like that talking about there is no free will, and what is consciousness, what are the fundamental questions, and we'll talk about that tonight. So if you have any thoughts, let me know in the chat. I'd love to have more of a discussion with y'all. So this one is called Feel For You. I'll take song requests too. Hey, Tex, good to see you. so I tried to get us some visibility on the surface, but it's not looking too great. I think there's some atmospheric turbulence as well as some clouds moving through. So back to the previous shot. You can see some cool other stars moving along with Jupiter. So yeah, let me adjust this a little bit. I think that's better. Cool, well yeah, I don't see any comments, but I'm going to talk about this idea of consciousness and the idea of memory. And so, yeah, I've been working on a few slides today, and let me see if I can pull up one of them real quick. All right, so I'm going to put it up in the top corner of the screen. And so I've been using some AI actually to create these visuals, because I feel like, well, of course I could do this by hand. You get a lot of different results at the same time, and you can kind of go through them and develop a few base ideas. But of course this is not exactly accurate. AI has its own kind of thing where it doesn't really want to adhere to perfect geometry, but you'll get the idea. This is one of the slides I've been working on. It says resonance modulation. I could pretty much say anything here in terms of what you would consider quantum entanglement, but if you can see this a little bit, and maybe I'll just make it large for one moment so you can see it. So this is a little bit what I'm working on. So you can see the physical form of our human body, and outside of it you can see all these nodules and these creations of different nodes and worlds and ideas. And so this idea of consciousness and self and other and field and what it is to be alive or to be aware of anything. This is one way of kind of visualizing it here. So I have it here. I'm just going to narrate it, but tell me if that's stupid. But here, the self generates the field. So the center of our bodies is basically built around an electrical filament bundle that's coming from space and grounding with the surface of Earth. And we're grown along these branches, these filamentary electric branches. And because we're grown along these intense electrical structures, we actually emanate a field or generate a field around our bodies. The self then resonates with this field. So while we're resonating, we're also perturbing the etheric field around the human body. And the perturbations create new layers that push out the other layers and create these next layers. So as these layers are being created, experienced, and then created even further, you get interference patterns between them that start creating their own substructures, these little node points. So if you imagine these node points around the human body like ideas, thoughts, words, sounds, etc., this is in our field, right? So not only are we actually creating all these different nodes, but this is also how we store this information in our field. Again, people can disagree with me. This is just what I've derived as my own understanding of it. So the field responds and the self resonates. So once you send a signal into the field, and this has been proven with slime molds, and they've done this in the laboratory where you can see that the center of the cell will reach out and try and define a boundary and get a recoil from the boundary or response from the boundary, and then it itself will react, and that will create the generative structures of the expansion. So we have the resonance creates interference patterns, which in turn create nodes, z-pinches, sparks, whatever you may want to call the spark of life. This occurs at all scales, and then the nodes have a gradient strength and remain entangled in the field, right? So a weak idea versus a strong idea, a weak memory, strong memory. The distance from your actual body to the memory also makes a difference because there's all this turbulence in between. And the power that you actually evoke as an entity also determines how these ideas and thoughts and little bubbles around our body are created, these nodes. And further, the final thought here really is that this is actually fractally recursive with our star field and our universe. So pretty much we are creating a version of the universe in our own field. So even though this may sound complicated, this is just the simplest version of the idea. And it's a start of what I'm going to be working on in the future. So let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I'm going to hide it right now so we can go back to Jupiter, but I'll pull it up later. We can talk about it some more. Wow, Jupes is looking good. Maybe I can get us a clearer shot right now, so let me try that. I see Peter Battle in the chat. What's going on? Strapped in, ready for the cosmic ride. Heck yeah, love to hear that enthusiasm. All right, let's run a track here, and I can stretch so I stay like limber tonight. It would be cool to stay up later and try the moon one more time this weekend. So what is the track that I want to play? Go with Fine Fixer. Be back in a couple.
Similar lives, like you were wise, rise divine. We got nature coming home, like an artifact crashing through the dynamo. It's all up to you. Oh, believe it now. It's all up to you. Oh, believe it now. You got nature in your soul, like an architect trapped inside a tornado. We got scientific knives, oh, like we were wise, but not divine. I would love to see, I would love to see, I would love to see all those promises. I would love to see, I would love to see, I would love to see all those promises. Ooh, you're taking a good hold of the heart. Don't hide it all away. No stone left unturned, trying to come away from the city.
Keep moving tonight. So that was Fine Fixer. Want to say what's up to Jonathan Gibson and Red Rome. Good to see you, old friend. Nice to see you in the chat. Jonathan Gibson says, experience as the patterns interfering. So yeah, I don't want to say yes in a general sense, because of course it's way more complicated than that, but I feel like I'll pull up the slide one more time. I know it's a little bit jarring between the shots, but sorry, Jupiter. But if you see this idea that if we humans, or any entity really, or atom, but just let's take the self. If you are just sitting with yourself and you think, all right, the structure of the human body is based on this nervous system. Let's say the nervous system and all its filamentary structures is actually outlining an electrical structure that is fundamental to the universe. And if that's the case, the bundles of nerves in our body actually are emanating radiation at different levels. I mean, this is obviously very speculative, but it seems like this is what auras are. This is what seems like the energy that you feel, your bubble, your sphere of influence. When somebody walks into a room, you're like, oh, I felt that person's energy. So I feel like that's what it represents. So if you're emanating energy into the field, but the field itself is also energy, which in and of itself is ourselves, then we're creating these interference patterns, very highly complex, turbulent interference patterns. So not smooth spheres, but, you know, waving, undulating spheres of etheric plasma, very thin cymatic fractal versions. I can imagine, you know, tiny little water droplets, basically. You can imagine all wound up and each one of those little droplets is an entire universe fractally. That's how you can have these memories that you can open up. You can store memories, and then you can retrieve memories. And where is that stored? So I was listening to all these cats today talk about what does it mean to be conscious. For example, Bernardo Kastrup has been coming up a lot, and so I finally listened to him properly today. And I was thinking about what he was saying in terms of, he has this idea where he was talking to Michael Levin, and Michael Levin does these experiments with planaria worms, where he cuts off heads and limbs and has them regrow different parts and stuff like that. This kind of figuring out where is information stored, right? And so I listened to about 2.5 hours of them talking, and it's a rare interview, rare discussion between the two of them. So and it happened a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. So it's the most contemporary, most kind of, I don't say out there thinking, but maybe preeminent thinking on metacognition, consciousness, the hard problem, the soft problem, etc. And not to put anyone down, because I think they're both pretty brilliant, but I think they have these ideas that they don't want to come down decisively upon. And because I have really nothing to lose here, I'm able to say things distinctly and specifically and say, I think it's this. So I can say decisive things because I'm okay being wrong later on. And also, it seems right to me after all these years of seeing all these people ask questions, this seems to be the thing that people keep forgetting, which is, who made the human body? Where are memories stored? How do we experience life? Taking experiments from what's actually happening versus what the math says should be happening, and then actually coming to one type of conclusion and talking about that. And so listening to the two of them, I realized that they're very knowledgeable, but they're really talking in circles. If you really press them to decide to say anything decisive, I don't think you'd really get that out of them, except besides, of course, Michael Levin doing specific experiments with planaria. I see Copper Tropicals, much love. Nice to see you. Long time. How the koi doing? Jonathan Gibson says, Levin's work harkens to Rupert Sheldrake's harmonic resonances. Yeah, so I don't know if you've been a follower for a long time or a subscriber for a while, Jonathan, but or a subscriber at all, but I've talked about Rupert for years and years and years. I think Rupert, mostly what he talks about is really brilliant and on point in terms of the morphogenic field, in terms of, they were also talking about panpsychism, this idea that everything is alive. I think I'm a proponent of that. It would make more sense to me that the tiny units and the large units are fractal recursion. So things that are happening on the cellular level are also happening at the human level, also happening at the planetary and solar system level and onwards in both directions. I see Annette in the chat. One love. What's happening? Well, welcome, Jonathan. I'm glad. There's a tiny little niche of the YouTube sphere where talk about things that are quite controversial. But again, I like the discussion. I like to be wrong. I like to think about things. So the theories that I talk about here, a lot of it is derived from listening to a lot of different people and putting things together over the years. So when I first discovered Electric Universe, I thought there was a lot of merit to that, and over time I've realized that yes, fundamentally there is electricity in the universe, but certain things like the Big Bang could actually have happened. So I've come to a place where if you take little bits and pieces of everything, you take a little bit of Alan Watts, you take a bit of Rupert Sheldrake, you take a bit of mainstream cosmology, and you start developing these ideas, we can come to a more decisive, a more clear place on who we are, where we are, how things work. And so to get back to the discussion around, Bernardo and Michael Levin, is that they really didn't want to tell each other that either of them was wrong. And so I feel like there's an academia bubble that doesn't allow for the certain decisive type of thinking. It happens too with, excuse me, with people like Donald Hoffman and so on, where they really need to adhere to their academic circles and book writing circles in order to maintain a position, make a career out of this. But luckily, I don't really have to make a career out of this at all. So I do get to dabble in much more esoteric thinking and come to, I guess, more decisive conclusions. So let's see. I'm going to try and go through all the comments. So, like, where did you go? Been gone for like 9 months. Yeah, the quick and dirty is that my computer had some issues. The last computer that I was streaming on, the memory and then the video card melted. So that was working. It was super buggy, and it's like it needs to be a super powerful computer to run the stream correctly. So I needed to wait to buy a new machine to stream. So that was one of them. And then by the time that really happened, I was deep in work, and I said quick and dirty, but this is the long story. Yeah, then I cleared out a certain room in my house for people to come stay with me. Family was coming to stay, and so people were with me for a while in the house. I couldn't really stream the way I typically do. And then 9 months roll around, I guess. And by the time I actually set up bought the new computer, set up all the stuff, took the cameras and scopes out of storage because there was a storm here in Tampa, so I put everything away. I got all the way back around, and it's November. So, and since I keep everything for TakeBackSpace on the same computer, like I didn't log into the emails or the channel or anything until I had set up everything this month. So that's where I've been. I know it kind of is weird, but it's, I've talked to you all before. I've been around for a while. You know that sometimes I take a good long break from the channel to stay sane. Otherwise, it would be a little bit overwhelming to my life to do this all the time. It's also, it's one of those jobs that is physically exhausting, and I am getting a little bit older, maybe a little lazier. Copper, nice to hear the koi are getting ready to sleep for the winter. That's wonderful. Let's see. Jonathan Gibson says, I came searching for lunar wave understanding, satisfying a moon fetish and stayed for the philosophy. That's cool. Did you ever watch the video where I explained what I thought the lunar wave was, or where I also have those two playlists that sort of explain it, which is like a supersonic, breaking the sound barrier. What that actually looks like is maybe a plasma double wave. And I assume that there's tons of stuff going on, like either tiny micrometeorites or supersonic jets that could have passed by the moon and created this kind of very thin, layered, kind of double layer effect. So if anyone was wondering what a lunar wave is or was or could be, I think it could be something like that, like a supersonic jet breaking the sound barrier. Goodness gracious, Mary, quite good to see you. I was thinking about you yesterday. I was hoping that you'd stop by tonight. I hope you're doing great. Missed you. Missed all of y'all. And hopefully Ellie will join too, and Jedi Princess and Dagger Spells and all y'all. I don't know if people completely unsubscribed, thought I fell off fell off the planet. Alicia Evans, Underwood, what's going on? You have so many great jams. Thank you. I'll play some soon. I'm going to take a little break here and try and zoom out so we can, or zoom in rather, and see a bit of the detail on Jupiter. Rainbows and Butterflies, I see you there. So nice. Thank you. And let's see. Formidable Opponent. All right. So yeah, yesterday, if you listened to my stream, I was rambling a lot about a lot of different ideas. So the next few streams, I'm going to try and keep it really concise and to specific topics, because each of those already has a lot of different layers, so to speak. Missed you. Yeah, it's tough sometimes. I don't know. It's like that. But I've told you all in the past, I wanted to get to a place where I could do the stream when I wanted to, and also just observe space and the moon and sit on my porch and not worry about having to set up the scope and stream on YouTube, because I don't know, I started doing this out of a sense of duty and also joy of sharing these types of ideas with YouTube, you know, but I'm not really one of those people that wants to be like a YouTube streamer full time. But this is a special thing, and I feel like I make that exception, and I try and I try and be as reliable as I can, keep the channel going. Yeah, we had so many really great nights together. Like, it's kind of hard to top some of those amazing sessions, but if I keep it kind of sporadic, I feel like we can keep the energy going. So let me know if you have any song requests. What I was going to do, since some of you weren't here last night, I'm going to play a couple of the new songs that I've been working on. And if you have any thoughts on consciousness, how do you think? Yeah, it would be great to get some responses in the chat. How do you think? And let's say, how do you think? Where do you think that we keep our memories? Do you think they are stored inside the skull, in the brain? Or do you feel that there's a possibility that they're actually stored in a field, in the field around the human body, in our auric field, in the Vedic field, in the Akashic field, whatever you want to call it? Is it actually more a network outside our body, like a membrane, versus just an in-brain? So that's a question. It would be great to hear everybody's responses. And where is this track? I thought it was going to be slick, but all right, this one's called Access to Excess.
It all seems fair, like small details. I don't feel like myself. And falling up, I seem like seed red. I know this trip we can take. I tell you that our bodies, they might sting like nails. I tell you that your mind's now in a forward state. I tell you that this made-up can't deceive my terrain. So don't play by myself, I can't feel my grace. Don't make me feel like I've stayed here too late. Metaphor, bring metaphysical unto my slave. So give me access to the axis, I will go. And give me vested knowledge, science to save. But just give me success in society, tech society. There's no benevolence, no soliloquies. Just give me excess, 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 excess. Just playing my game.
All right. So, Jupiter, it was looking a little bit blobby, but look, it's settled right now, so we can see some nice bands, no red spot. But yeah, so I'm on the 11-inch tonight. The tracking is not super great. I don't think I've updated the software in months. But let me just check in here in the chat, say hi to Hank Derbs, big love, what's going on? Long time. And I want to try and stay up with the comments. So Jonathan Gibson says, I had an NDE, near-death experience, right? With my son who was visited by his grandfather moments before ex-wife called to say he died. Behavior without bioneurology, displaying clear personality to all three of us, changed me. That's really powerful. I mean, near-death experiences get me choked up sometimes, because I feel like it's one of those profound experiences that many people like. Just you can feel it in their stories. You know, the stories encapsulate the emotions. So thank you for sharing that. I think that I've listened to a ton of NDE stories in the last few years to try and get a better sense of a broader perspective on it. So what I would say is that if you imagine each entity, each person is emitting a field structure, and when we, you know, this is a bit of a morbid topic, but when we do pass, when we die, we return into this field. But I feel that we also leave memories in the field, and whether they're a record, and an album or a book or just a thought, that we have affected the field. This is one of these things where I'm trying to phrase this correctly, but because I was listening to these guys today talk a lot about it, there's no free will and we don't matter. Life is not about you, so to speak. But I think that that's not really true. I think it's the answer to pretty much any question is it's both, right? It's both the negative space and the positive space. It's both dark and light. So I think it's not that life is not about us. It is about us, but it's also about everything else. That's how I think about it. So yeah, near-death experiences I feel are not only residual energy in the field, but also since everything is field-oriented and electrically connected at every level, you also have things like telepathy, well, not telekinesis, but you could say that the way we move things with our hands could constitute a form of telekinesis, since our brain is not actually moving anything. We have things moving for us. But, in the traditional sense, telekinesis doesn't exactly exist. But I do think that people can feel each other from a distance. Animals can feel each other. And I think maybe the simplest answer is because there is no distance at all between anything. It's all just one entity observing itself from different perspectives, but there's no separation. Heck yeah. Somebody's rock and rolling outside. All right, so I see Tex Murphy in the chat. What's going on? Answering one of my questions from earlier, it says, I think our memories are all stored in a central computer, aka God. We are just nodes enabling the higher power to experience life. I think in a way that is part of what I believe too, but I also think that we, by virtue of actually existing, I'll give you an example right now. To me, only to me, it seems like I'm actually creating and inflating my own body, right? And pumping my own blood and growing my own hair. And many people and entities can have a different perspective on that, but to me that seems like the most reasonable and most rational. Versus we don't know and we can never know, or versus invisible entity that I prescribe this power to that is growing my hair and making my eyes. So for me, I think that because we make our own bodies and we make our own fields, that we are a fractal recursion of the entire system. We are the whole and the individual. So while our memories are stored on a central computer, I think centralization, right, is our perspective on life. So we are central to our world, but every other unit of life is also central to their world. And therefore, what was I thinking? Therefore, the central computer, aka God, could also be construed as self in a certain way. All right, let me get back to the wide view. I'll keep talking here. You got some cloudage, or did we lose Jupiter entirely? No, I think we just got some cloudage. Annette says, I feel drawn to certain areas in nature, and I can't help but think it's because of an outside field of knowledge and familiarity. And I would say that's really natural, right? I think we attribute this, the outside, I don't want to say we attribute, I think we label the outside things like, for example, we call it the environment. But I think because certain words can become loaded, that the environment doesn't really, it doesn't really define self, right? I think if we consider what it might be, if we may rephrase it as the body, or who the self is self and other. It's the I and the field that encompass the whole. And so it is self plus environment that creates the totality of our body. And I would say probably the totality of our mind as well. It's not, one is not separate from the other. Let's see. But I do make, that makes sense. Like when people are drawn to travel, or they're somehow magnetized by a concept, because these concepts are resonances in the field that do push us and pull us. So I'm not completely against determinism either. So a lot of the stuff Bernardo Castro was talking about, I don't think he's not intelligent. I think he's brilliant. But I do feel there's always, not always, but I think there's a sense from a lot of the people who talk about science and cognitive neuroscience and consciousness that they come at it from a sense that there is an issue with all of this. The problem is that the two problems are this, the problem that we're trying to solve, or they talk about it in a diminished way where they're saying this extremely extraordinary thing is just So it's just physics. It's just math. And I think that doesn't allow for the whole. So people are distinguishing between things, creating barriers between these ideas, when to truly understand the whole, you must accept both sides of things, the dark and the light. Copper Trop says, haha, I just listened to Copper Love Song you did 7 years ago. We were also watching Jupiter at the time. I remember that. Tonight I was actually thinking about doing chat room song, but I didn't get it set up in time. Perhaps soon. See Donald Yates, what's going on? Welcome. Says the body emanates heat, which is energy that we create. Right. And if you take it one step further, because our head is filled with a ton of energy, and this energy is really light, it's radiation, that our skull actually acts as kind of a focuser. So our eye sockets project this intensified beam of light. I mean, it's actually a spiral, golden mean spiral into the field. But our eyes are actually beams, and these beams are quantum entangling with the field and actually creating what we perceive as matter. Astralis, what's going on? Hey. Great to see you. I know that you left me such a nice comment. All of y'all left me some great comments. I apologize for not responding promptly, but I'm back. So those are 3 hearts for you. Mary Quite says, when I fractured my left ankle about 6 weeks ago, didn't you hurt yourself also like a year ago? I hope you're doing okay. I mean, with this new fracture. I researched how to maintain fitness while in a cast. Found research that said if you imagine yourself doing regular exercise, you don't lose as much muscle mass. Been doing it and my recovery has been phenomenal. Doctor even said I was healing faster than average. So the idea of mind over body, right? And I think that, these ideas of mind over body, but also, this placebo effect and how the mind really creates everything. I'm a proponent of that. I think it is. I don't think it's a totality where like you can completely decide I want my body to do this, but I think at a very low level of radiation that we can become in tune with how our body works. So yeah, I think if you can put yourself in the mind of the cells in your body, you can become the drivers of those cells. Right now, think about the high-level complexity of the operations that we serve in our body without really thinking about it. We do all these extra things on top of running the human body perfectly. But I will get back to this idea of how you can really maybe prove it to yourself, because a lot of people don't like the idea of saying I'm God or you're God, or the word God is loaded too. But I think God in the sense that I don't know, for me, God has changed into more of the idea. So if we think about the idea of God, that's something that still exists. But I think people have changed it to suit their own needs over time. So for me, it used to be a very kind of maybe triggering word because of all the violence that has come from religion. But now I realize that the earth pretty much has to have these types of religions, even though they may bring destruction, but they can also bring a lot of peace. And even though I might not prescribe to that line of thinking, the earth, because it has that, I guess I'm looking at it from if you accept Earth for what it is, then you can accept the bad and the good. And that's a perspective that each and every one of us can have. So I think the power in perspective and change it and being flexible is a hugely powerful concept that could identify as free will. I see Douglas Perry in the chat. Great to see you. It's been a while. It's so nice to see the whole Space fam together. Maybe I'll take a little break here, keep eating my tacos, and stream a couple of songs, some of the new stuff. Estrella said this year was like a slug. I get it, but good win, bright stars lately. Yeah, I think it's been a very interesting year. I mean, I mentioned some of the stuff on the stream yesterday, like Wallthorn Hill, and of course we got the wars and all the terrible stuff going on. But at the same time, I've definitely leaned in more to this idea that you're never going to see news headlines that say 95% of the world at peace. Go about your daily business. You're always going to see a headline that highlights this tiny percentage of terrible stuff that's happening on Earth. And that's not to take away from the struggle that people have, but I feel like truly accepting life for what it is means, taking both into account and not feeling like, well, the earth would be perfect if we could. That's not really accepting. That's basically saying, I'll accept you if you change. And so that's where I've been at lately. And also I've been practicing a lot of guitar on the side, trying to do a little bit of jazz here and there, because that's super difficult. Astralis Ren says, Supreme Mind. Well, Supreme Mind fractalized at every scale means that you're the Supreme Mind, and I'm the Supreme Mind, and an ant is also the Supreme Mind. And as the Supreme Mind recycles bodies, it maintains a superstructure. So the Supreme Mind is always. But because we make our own bodies and we have this so-called free will, I feel like we must be that Supreme Mind as well. There's no Supreme Mind that we exist within and not have any power over, because that to me just seems more speculative than to say, yes, I do have the responsibility for my own existence. Woohoo, dagger spells. I was just talking about you a little bit ago. Heart, heart, heart. Great to see you. Yeah, just reading all the chats over here. Mary says, of course, taking zinc probably had some part in it. Zinc is really good too, yeah. But I refuse to get down about it. Maybe it also has something to do. Yes, it was 6 years ago, wow, that you were injured. That's crazy. Yeah, time really flies, but it flies out in layers and then gets stuck in between each magnetic moment in our time bubble. So if you've been noticing, I'm trying to keep it to consciousness and resonance with field tonight, but I'm going to talk about these different topics over time and really try and hone in on the whole thing. So let's pop in a couple of new songs here, and I'm going to also put up the labels for Jupiter for all the moons at the bottom. Let's see if I'm right about this. This is Europa. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Well, let me put a song here while I do this. Hide that for a moment. All right, this one's called Foley Urge. Foley Urge. New one up in the place. All right, that was a new one. I want to hop in, say what's up to Shockwave. It's been a while. Nice to see you, bro. See you're chilling with that. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't want to talk about it in the audio, but if that's what brings you pleasure, then then awesome. I see Fantasy in the chat. What's going on, my friend? Long time. And did I miss anybody? Let me know if I missed you in the chat. I don't think I did, but it's possible. My eyes are getting a little wobbly. Well, cool. Let's see. I want to I want to get back, really, just now that we have a few more people, and I'll get back to the songs too, but I wanted to pull up that slide that I had earlier, which is one of the slides that I'm working on. It's going to take over the shot for a second, but what is consciousness, right? Resonance modulation, right? This is how we can have life across Earth. We have 8 billion people where they're mostly the same, but they're slightly different, right? And you can have an Earth which has tremendous evil, but it's a tiny bit. And you can have all these stars, but in the background, it's this massive amount of space behind the stars. You can have an apple seed and apple flesh. The relationship between the two, tiny seeds, lots of flesh. Same thing with the Earth and the magnetic fields around Earth. Giant magnetic fields, much larger than the circumference of Earth. So the human body has a magnetic field or an auric field or Vedic field or etheric field or memory bubbles around the body that with the body make the whole. And this is what I've been trying to talk about for years. I've been working on coming up with some of these slides so I can get more clear about it. So the self generates the field because we're grown along filaments. The self resonates with the field, and the field returns feedback, and therefore we create these interference patterns with the field, and each of these nodes has its own fields, its own consciousness. So a cell has consciousness, a tiny proton has consciousness, a Planck unit of space has consciousness as far down and as far up as we can see. The resonance then creates all these different node points as memories, light memories, strong memories, hard memories, whatever you want to call them. So the resonances and modulation of these memories allows us to create infinite memories with slight variances throughout. That's how we create our own bodies from these rule sets, very strict rule sets, infinite possibilities. Let me hide that. But I'm going to make more of those. And let's see. Marky Rizzo, yeah, what's going on? Good to see you. Y'all talking about some Counter-Strike, not Counter-Space. But yeah, we're looking at some Jupiter. I put up the moons earlier. I'm going to run this for another 10-15 minutes here. Then I'm going to take a break, finish my dinner, and maybe get back to the moon late tonight at like 1:30 if I'm feeling up for it. If not, then probably do Jupiter again tomorrow. So if you want to tune in, we can talk some more about these topics and even more topics and new songs, etc. So let's see. So I'm just reading some of these comments here. Red Rum says, am I a gamer? I mostly play chess at this point. Only chess. And then I'll play, some other... Then I'll go to Tetris, and then I'll play chess again. So I stopped playing... I actually bought a PlayStation, but I just don't feel like I can really sit down for hours anymore and play games like that. Maybe it's just... I don't want to say maybe it's just I'm bored with it. I think I just have these habits now, like astronomy and writing music, that are a little more complex and fulfilling when I get them done. So I can't see myself spending 4 hours doing a first person or even an RPG anymore when I could be writing a song or, again, streaming the planet Jupiter for y'all. But it doesn't mean I don't love games, and I haven't definitely spent half my life playing games. Shockwave, yeah, World of Tanks. You love that. Yeah, I love the new Tetris games. The one on the PlayStation is great, like Connected, and also the one on mobile is great too. But mostly I play bullet and speed chess. That's been pretty fulfilling lately. To just every so often it allows me to kind of fulfill that urge of pro gaming without really spending too much time on it. It's not such an investment. But yeah, Tetris Connection, I guess. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. It's a game that I would make if I were to remake Tetris. All right, I'm gonna play this track called Bougie Boogie, Everything's Electric. And I don't know, I'm thinking about what to say. I feel like I have a lot to say, but I also don't want to go off on like too many rabbit hole tangents. This stream is mostly about we resonate with our field. This is what we perceive, I think, as conscious reality. Everything has a self and other, therefore everything resonates and creates its own little interaction, which makes an ant feel like it's the center of everything, a planet feels like it's the center of everything, and a person feels like they're the center of everything. And how does that happen? It's because we are a unified field of percolation. Actually, I do have another slide here. Let me see. I was working on the percolating multi-Big Bang slide here. Maybe I'll show it to y'all, a little teaser. Where is it? No, did I not save it? I did. Many worlds. So, here's another slide. So what does the unified field look like? Like if you zoom in all the way in one direction to the point where you think you could get the bird's eye view on the universe, what would it really look like? And it seems to me like each and every one of these marbles or these spheres that are coming out of the field could be an entire universe. So this could be kind of, you know, of course it's not exactly this because AI does what it wants to do, but of course the geometric idea here is that we have universes just percolating, undulating, and a multitude, infinite number of these universes, Big Bangs. And Big Bangs, you know, trigger people. It's also a loaded concept, but the way I'm thinking about it is that a spark, a torsion, a pinch, a Z-pinch, or a node, or two filaments interacting create a spark or a Big Bang, which could be an atom, it could be a person, it could be a, you know, a cell. So many Big Bangs, and some of them travel to great heights and create our universe, and some just pop, or some just kind of undulate for a while and then dissipate, or some take a long time, and different life cycles and different scales. We have different universes. So, and of course they're all built on the same building blocks. So that's where panpsychism and everything is conscious comes into play, where this unified field is the conscious soup. And in every direction, it basically generates as much as possible to create as much life as possible. And in this configuration, you could call humans an emergent phenomenon, or you could call consciousness an emergent phenomenon. But then again, if you think about it, we're still right here. And if you pinch your skin and you look at your hair, and you go look at yourself in the mirror, there is no other being besides you creating the hair follicles and the skin cells and pumping the blood. You are the superorganism, whether you choose to accept that or not. So that's the idea tonight. And of course, this amazing configuration, shelf-like structure of Jupiter. It's about to clear my windowsill up at the top, so let's play a couple more tunes. Let me know your thoughts on this concept, if you like the slides, if you like where I'm taking it. Red Rum has a good question, says, wonder where ghosts fall into all of this. So if you have, so if life and death are part of a continuum, there is no other place where you go when you die. So we go to the same place that we are right now, but we experience it from a completely different disassociated perspective. So we dissolve, or we are the 21 grams of blue light, or whatever you like to consider as the soul, or the remnants of the human physical corpse, returns into the ether in, you know, the way that either Dan Winter suggests, where we kind of squirt through the light at the end of the tunnel and return into the matrix array of the field, or you think you dissipate and rot and nothing happens to you, but regardless, your body does disintegrate and return to the earth. So no matter what, we get recycled. And it seems that things die and things get born again. And so the idea of birth and death is just a type of cycle that we see. And this is something, you know, I'm taking from Alan Watts. One of my favorites is where he talks about the rapid pulsation of things. So when you make a sound, we'll do like oh, or ah, You can even hear the kind of the on off of the universe. Sound silence, sound silence, sound silence. High pitches and low pitches. And this idea of on off can go from sound to ideas to life and death to universes to epochs. Everything is undulating in these cycles, and ultimately you will be born again in a different form. But since you created this form to begin with, this persistence of memory is something that I think has a lot of merit. Like, I don't think you remember exactly what happened in your previous life, but you get re-injected into a system that has all the memories of all life that has ever existed. So the Akashic record or environment or the magnetic fields of Earth, whatever you want to call it, this memory remains. And some people are more resonant with those memories, so some people can remember past lives or other people's past lives. And the way I think that ghosts exist, besides being potentially physical plasma returning to the ether, you also have the possibility that ghosts exist as memory bubbles or memory nodes in our field. And this, somebody like David Bowie, for example, has a very powerful ghostly presence. There's no real definition of ghost. We just know ghosts from the common narrative. But if you think about it as energy ghosts, it can be a record, it could be a cassette, it could be a book, it could be a person, it could be a thought. So ghosts to me can exist in a lot of different ways. In a way, you could look at the stars and say, these are ghosts. We're looking at stars that, existed a certain time ago, even though I don't like to talk about it like that. I'll read in some of these comments here. Red Rum says, are they our consciousness or just a collection of energy? I think they're both, right? What I think as consciousness is the interplay between self and your shell. So you looking into your field and your field responding to you, that interaction is what I consider consciousness. It's an action. Consciousness is not an idea, it's an interaction. I see Cyber Sully, what's going on? Long time. Great to see you. Says death is merely a matter of our soul moving into an alternate layer of light density. I definitely agree with that. I think the structure of it, we sort of have an idea of it. Depends. Like when we die, we'll see maybe more structure or less structure to it. But I think that we do already have field structure that we can see in our day-to-day lives and in our own bodies. And so I feel like death is very close, and it's warm, and it's a place that we totally understand, and it's not as scary as it's been made out to be, even though pain is pain. It's not to deride pain entirely. Saying hi to Fast Mama Jamma and Bamba Clot. What's going on? Bless up, Bamba Clot. Good to see you. Fast Mama Jamma says, I bought a TZ10. I converted to infrared. Is that I guess a TZ10 is a type of camera. That's really cool. I dig infrared photography a lot, and I have been considering it, for years, trying to maybe get one of those customized cameras. A hydrogen alpha, maybe. Red Rum says, memory bubbles could be the explanation for ghost orbs. I think that's true. I think plasma phenomenon could explain a lot of UFO phenomenon. Not all of it, but I definitely think that there are certain plasma lightning events above a certain level in our skies where anomalistic versions of those can look like entities because they are entities, right? Plasma in a very loose form is life, is pure life. So you have plasma, these types of entities that have a consciousness that is very like ours, but of course they don't have limbs and theaters and stuff like that. They are a certain type of resonance modality in the field, I think. But they're made of the same stuff, so they are pure intelligence. Peter Battle says, sometimes I wonder if the source signal is like just a cursor blinking and God is the hand that types. I think it is to some degree, but there are different types of impulse responses, right? Some things you don't think about and you just impulsively act on, like putting your hand on a fire. Or there are some things that if you focus on and you try really hard, you can impose more function on it, like breathing. Like you don't have to think about breathing, but you can also think about breathing. So I think we are both the author of our own realities, yet we have imposed limits by virtue of this structure of reality, so that with infinite possibility, we're able to dissect the world into units that are decipherable. You could call that an emergent phenomenon, or you could call that a controlled phenomenon, but I think it's probably a mixture of both. Daggerspell says, you are the universe experiencing itself. I think that's a very succinct way of putting it. I agree. Next month we are heading into asteroids. Yep, it's going to be some good viewing over the next few months, so hopefully can do some streams. Shockwave says, physical plasmas have lifelike attributes, for instance, creating double layers and self-organization. I totally agree with that. Let me drink some water here. Let's see, any other comments that I'm missing? Maybe it's time to play a couple of tunes. All right, I was going to do Boogie, so let's do that. And let me know if you have any song requests too. Be on for a little bit longer.
700 lives we live. In a sense, I've known you forever. 7,000 lines are read. Soul inside your bubble time. Racing tonight. Intervals divided. One Beverly at a time. Would you know the life we had? And still we live our love so bad. It was always electrical. It was always electrical. It was always electrical. Always electrical. It was always electrical. It was always electrical. It was always electrical. It's like a perception's garden, fractal harmonic diction, slowly giving rise to our carnival. We got so far, a reservation guest stars. Never mind this old honeymoon, we can make some more. Let yourself on beautiful subtle energies. I told you electrical.
Sorry about that. I pressed pause instead of fading. That's ridiculous. The most abrupt moment tonight. But anyway, wanted to hop back in here for a sec. And yeah, a little guac to go with the tacos. Yeah, I have a few tacos remaining and some guac, so very excited about that. I've worked up quite the appetite. Got some Jupiter here still going strong. I think it's probably about to drift above the windowsill, so I'm just going to wait with it. I'm just going to read any other comments here. I know that some of y'all here come for the music and some come for the talking. So let me know if there are any topics that I still haven't touched upon, or if you want me to clarify anything from earlier. But yeah, more slides, more concise thinking over the next few streams. We'll see if I have some energy later. If y'all are up, check in around 1:30 a.m. or 1:45 a.m. Eastern tonight. We'll have the last quarter moon, and maybe I'll do a quick stream then. Perhaps I'll make some coffee too. Wagyu beef ground. Oh my gosh, those sound great. I don't eat beef anymore, but I definitely had Wagyu beef once or twice in New York, so I can imagine that in tacos is probably ridiculous. Probably ridiculous. I'm trying to see what other songs haven't I played. Let me play something from a while ago. All of this is new again because I really haven't been listening. Do some Dreamboat or Ground to Like You. Okay. Do some Dreamboat. All right. Last song here. Just wanted to say thanks to everybody who showed up tonight. It's always such a pleasure. and it's really great to see all the old ones, all the old G's. You're not old. We're all young. And everybody new as well. I haven't seen Ellie. I haven't seen Jedi Princess yet. And I know others too. I know Miguel stopped by at one point. But yeah, I'll be streaming a few more times this week, and then definitely next moon cycle now that I'm set up again. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. Definitely just keep your eyes peeled for later tonight. I'm not 100% sure I'll be doing it because I know I might just pass out. But if I don't, we'll check out this final quarter moon. It'll be a fun late night Luna stream. Yeah, no Lost Brooklyn either. But if any of y'all are catching it tomorrow, I hope y'all are doing great. I appreciate you. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, stay safe, stay wise, and fill your bellies tonight. Enjoy your Saturday night. I know I will. Golden coming in. And this is your captain signing off on another amazing space stream. Good night, Jupiter. Good night, Electric Universe.